Hi everyone, welcome to the live session on Your Story is Important. A very happy new year to everyone. I hope everybody is doing fine and everyone is safe. Please prioritize your mental health in this new year. And in case anyone requires any sort of help with regard to therapy or mental health, please feel free to reach out. Today we have a wonderful session on emotional violence and its impact on mental health, and we have an incredible guest with us, that is Miss Ifrah. Let me just add her. Haven't received the request, please send me a request. I think there is some technical issue from my end. Okay, we are here. Great. Hi.
Hi, Baralika. Hello. Happy
Hi.
New Year.
Happy New Year and welcome to Your Story is Important. Thank you so much for accepting my request to be here and to talk on such an important issue on emotional violence. Welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, for the viewers, Miss Ifra is a professor and also the founder of uh, Divas. Divas.
Divas in
What is
Defense.
the Divas in Defense? Right, right. And she does wonderful work in that, and that is an initiative which works on helping women with regard to violence. And today's talk is on emotional violence and its impact on mental health. So, Ifra, if I may ask you, why is it so important to talk on mental health, to start off with?
It is imperative to talk on mental health, Baralika, because the more you see around us, and if you happen to, I know where this question comes from. If you happen to talk to elderlies in our society, it will be, you must have heard, our viewers must have heard, mental health का कुछ नहीं होता. I'm going to
Right.
go bilingual here.
Yeah.
या ये सब जो नई जनरेशन का एक नया तरीका है बात करने का कि डिप्रेशन हो गया है, एंजाइटी हो रही है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. हमारे जमाने
Mm.
में तो थप्पड़ मार के काम चला लेते थे. Like that.
Absolutely.
That the
Yeah.
more dismissed this particular topic is, the more it becomes important for us to focus on it, because it is
Right.
definitely there and it needs to be recognized in order to work on it, to improve the
Right.
health. And the better the mental health of the community is, the better workforce it becomes, the better
Right.
society it generates.
Right, right. I think that's very well stated. I think even in educated families, as we can see, there is still a lot of stigma with regard to mental health, and even in casual conversations, keep on shaming people, by just saying, "Oh, you're so crazy," or "Tu pagal ho." Like we keep on shaming people, with regard to mental health, and it's been so difficult. So, when we talk about violence, I think emotional violence is so underrated, and I think the work that you cater to in Divas in Defense, I think that has a lot to do with emotional violence that nobody really talks about. So could you tell us, Ifra, about, your initiative and what really compelled you to, start this initiative and the incredible work that you do?
So it is at a very nascent stage right now, Varalika, where basically we've started it from our college itself. It's called
Right.
Divas in Defense. What
Hmm.
really, pushed me to do something like that was because I felt that there was a very huge need. What
Hmm.
we have seen throughout movies is abuse. We've seen trauma. We've seen, ठीक है, domestic violence होता है. We've seen assaults होते हैं on women, rape, etc. But we've also seen one hero figure who comes in and, saves or rescues the
Saves.
damsel in
Right.
distress.
Yeah.
Over time, as with experience and in the profession that I am, with so many women
Hmm.
at my betrayal, and that's how I came to know that, what, there is no hero. So if you
Hmm.
gonna survive in this entire traumatic times where, every you talk to any woman, I
Hmm.
won't even say any woman, Varalika, here. I would say anybody. It could even be a male
Right.
or,
Yeah.
gender neutral identities. They've all faced bullying. They've all
Yeah.
faced sexual assaults, harassment,
Hmm.
child abuse. So you see, everyone is carrying that baggage, and there is no hero. There's no Sunny Deol. There's no Salman Khan coming to rescue us. You have to be
Right.
your own hero. And one thing that we
Absolutely.
realized, there was actually a case that
Hmm.
happened, that a student committed suicide because an ex-boyfriend threatened to leak a nude picture on Facebook.
Hmm.
And that's something that got to me, that, what, we could have
Hmm.
saved the child. There is nothing like that.
Hmm.
There is no such the notion of izzat and all of that women carry with themselves. I'm going to use the word she here, is as a protagonist, because that is the maximum case
Right.
in the factual study. So what
Right.
that actually helped me in realizing that, we have to, what is lacking within us that puts us in that position where we take such weird, such massive steps that, you kill
Hmm.
yourself because there is
Right.
something wrong that is going on. So you need to
Hmm.
build a resilient wall around you.
Right.
And that
Right.
actually comes from within. No matter how much self-defense you learn, no matter
Right.
what, it's a part of it, but it should come from within. So that mental resilience needs to be taught. If it's not
Right.
there, it's not coming from families, if it's not coming from childhood experiences, this needs to be taught. So we decided to come up with this venture called Divas in Defense. It is in an
Mm-hmm.
initial phase right now. We are a family of
Mm-hmm.
300 people, and we're all learning parts of how to deal with different kinds of assaults, because we realize that it's not going anywhere, nothing is
Mm-hmm.
working. We're actually not able to reduce it to any extent for the time being. So it's imperative that we learn how to fight it. You are in a war, so you
Yeah.
need to wear an armor. It's as
Right.
simple as that. So,
Right. I think every day, each one of us is actually in a war with our own selves, with the kinds of thoughts that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I think the work that you've just started, I think it's really incredible. And like you rightly said, resilience needs to be learned. I think nobody is born with resilience. And I think it's really important, like in education institutes, something like resilience, how to like, fight with your own self and with the inner willpower that you have, how to fight with the society. Because as we all saw, the recent Shraddha case that happened, I mean, that was about emotional violence and mental
yes,
health issues. I mean, if she had that sort of resilience, I'm sure, we could have, like saved her. I think as a society, we failed in, inculcating these sort of values in each other at the most ground level, if I have to say that. I think it's important that in schools and colleges we do talk about resilience, mental health, and how we can really strengthen our emotional well-being. What do you feel about this? Do you
yes.
feel it's important to teach such things?
It is extremely important. Somehow, in the Shraddha Walkar case, also, if you see, Baralika, we were discussing this in one of my classes, and we said that, somehow we failed. We
Right,
taught women how to, be independent, make your own decisions. You're an adult. So there were a lot of criticism ke apne parents ko chhodkar, wo kyun
yeah,
gayi thi, and all of that.
right,
That's okay. We do, as an adult, we do have the freedom and the right to choose, and that's completely fine.
right,
But at the
right.
same time, Shraddha Walkar failed to leave that boyfriend of hers. If you
Hmm.
can leave your parents, for interfering with your freedom, you should also, the moment you realize that this relationship is becoming abusive and it is not healthy, not working out for me, that is where you need to pick your bag and leave. I'm sorry to
Right.
say that, but that is what it is. This thing that we have inculcated amongst women, that हम तो किसी को भी ठीक कर देंगे, bad
Hmm.
boy को will
Yeah,
change somehow.
right,
That's not how
right,
it works. People don't
right.
change like that. So yeah.
Right, right. I think as women, I mean, again, like you said, how it's important to, take women into consideration because as we see, maximum number of cases, happen with women when we talk about violence. I mean, not to dismiss the cases that happen with men and also with queer people, but maximum number of cases do happen with women, considering the data that is prevalent in the society. I think it's really important that each individual tries to inculcate that sort of courage and resilience in themselves to fight with their own inner demons and also with what the society projects them. Like I think I'm sure there must be really something which really motivated you to work towards this particular cause that you're working towards. So if there is any particular case that you would like to share with the viewers, which would throw some light on how one can really save someone or probably help someone who is going through some sort of emotional violence or trauma, if anything you would like to
Yeah.
share.
Veralika, I'm obviously there are a lot of incidences that have happened with me, with friends of mine, with students of mine around us in the society. So I'm just going
Right.
to very quickly say one thing. physical
Hmm.
abuse and emotional abuse are two different things.
Right.
Domestic violence and physical abuse is easy to recognize. You know, a
Right.
friend comes to you and says that my boyfriend hit me today. You know that it's
Hmm.
domestic violence. You know, you
Right.
definitely know, you know what, don't go back. Or
Hmm.
stuff like that. You know what to say. But if somebody comes to you and says that today such and such thing happened, he abused me, or he demeaned me in some way, the the basic tendency that we have, and even it can be any of us who can go wrong here, is brush it under the rug. We're like,
Right.
you know what, कोई बात नहीं, ये तो छोटी सी बात है.
Get over it.
हाँ,
हाँ, right.
हो सकता है कि उसको ऑफिस का फ्रस्ट्रेशन
Hmm.
हो सकता है तुमने गलत समझा. Could be you have you been watching some sort of movies, you're trying to, blame a very sweet guy. He's such a sweet guy, he's so nice to you, he takes care of you, and all of that. These are the responses that you get when somebody comes to you with emotional abuse
Right.
issues. And the
Right. Right.
society, Varalika, has turned very smart. The perpetrators I'm talking about have turned very
Hmm.
smart. They know कि it's an educated woman, it's she's well aware. मैं इसको थप्पड़ मारूंगा तो चली जाएगी ये.
Hmm.
So how do you control that patriarchal tendency to control the woman
Hmm.
comes out in various means. It comes out in very tactical forms, and it's weird, you'd see, and it must have happened with so many of us. It's just so many
Absolutely.
of us in different relationships. And emotional abuse is something that can happen in amongst friends, at workplace, and family members also. But 90% of the time, it's very common. It's mostly seen in dating or marital relationships, in spousal
Right.
relationships, where there is a power dynamic in play. So
Right.
that is where, some one person, it can be a female also, tries to
Hmm.
control the other person using different mechanisms like bullying,
Right.
like emotional forms of abuse, guilt trip, or
Right.
trying to, humiliate you in public, nitpicking
Hmm.
at your clothes. And the
Right.
only way now, there is a huge difference between conflict and emotional abuse. There are
Hmm.
conflicts in all the relationships. We see conflicts everywhere, and conflicts are
Yeah.
healthy. Conflicts are
Right.
healthy. They tend to happen, right? Two people
Right.
with different mindsets, obviously there is going to be conflict. But the moment it becomes emotional abuse is when the other person starts to feel bullied, belittled,
Right.
hyper
Right.
judged. There is a lot of
Hmm.
judgment in the tone, sarcasm to the
Hmm.
point that it's no more funny.
Right.
You're humiliated in public, making jokes at your expense, which is
Hmm.
not funny. I'm not comfortable if my spouse makes fun of me in his amongst his college office friends.
Right.
So that is different. And how do you identify? It's so subtle. Emotional abuse
Yeah.
is so subtle that identifying it is very difficult. So what we
Right.
do is we tend to talk with in divas in defense. We tend to talk, and we came about with so many facts that so common, prevalent in same-sex relationships, and
Right.
even men face emotional abuse at the hands of women. That's also happening.
Absolutely.
So there are certain parameters here in play which you
Hmm.
need to recognize in case of emotional abuse. Is the one thing that I say is these kind of conflicts, this bullying, the statements made by your partner, if they don't feel good, if at the end of this conversation or interacting with them you feel your self-esteem sets a blow, you don't feel good about that conversation, you feel underconfident after that, you don't feel encouraged, your energy gets drained, that's where emotional
Hmm.
abuse is. You need to now analyze, recognize, identify these patterns, and that's how you need to decide what your future course should be. That is
Right.
something that is emotional abuse. I will share
Right.
some incidents also. So, for example,
Hmm.
I'll give an example here. So, for example, there's a woman and she works in a corporate office. So now you see that this is a married relationship and everyone is educated and the woman is working. So everything is cool from
Yeah.
an outside perspective. perspective, this is a very healthy relationship and
Right.
family.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this woman is going out to her office. She has a very important day. It's a promotional interview, a presentation, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She is getting dressed in the morning and she asks her husband, "मैं ठीक लग रही हूँ?" And the husband says that ये dress थोड़ी सी tight है, तुम्हें नहीं लगता?
Mm-hmm.
This sari, this blouse is a little deep cut,
Mm-hmm.
or this lipstick is too dark. It could just be a minor comment,
Right.
something.
Mm.
The duty of a spouse or a friend or someone very close to you is looking for something good about you will always encourage you in such positions.
Right.
Now what happens is either she goes and change into something that she didn't want to, or she goes straight away to her office. The entire day she's only checking her dress or her lipstick. It's
Right.
always, it's there in her head that शायद मैं ठीक नहीं लग रही हूँ, शायद
Mm.
मुझे matlab, she's not feeling confident about herself. This is impacting her presentation and her promotion based on that, and her entire day, right?
Right.
So, and if anybody is complimenting her, she's not taking it seriously, because the husband whose compliment does matter has
Mm-hmm.
said some weird things. This is and if it becomes a pattern, this is emotional abuse.
Right. And I think in a very subtle way, these things tend to happen that we fail to recognize it at the right time. And it actually reaches a saturation point is when, when we actually realize that I'm not able to cope up, with my mental well-being because we tend to react, at the right time. So I think it's really important that, I think through this conversation that, we tell our viewers to be very conscious of each and every feeling that one feels, and it's important to be vocal about your feelings because I think if emotional abuse is not handled at the right time, I think it can be disastrous and it can lead to various things in the form of a mental illness. I think emotional abuse is a dangerous thing to experience, I guess, because like you stated, like it can be in the form of bullying, manipulation, and so many other things, and it can really impact one's well-being. So thank you so much, Ifra, for highlighting these important points. But before we end the conversation, what is that one thing that you'd like to tell everyone, that can really protect them or save them from emotional abuse?
Yeah. So one thing that I think I missed out on was emotional and abuse can does not even need to be in words. It can be something like a stare. Your partner
Right,
stares at you in public looking at your dress or something, the way you are acting, etc., and it can completely wreck with your brain. And if it goes on for a very long time, it's more harmful than physical abuse. It's way more
right.
harmful than physical abuse. It needs to be, what happens in such relationships is that the victim, basically, it is too what can I say, you cannot even get out of this relationship. You're too afraid to leave, and it becomes too cumbersome
Mm-hmm.
to stay in this relationship. And sometimes you need
Right.
an outside force, friends, supportive family, or just
Mm-hmm.
your own willpower or resilience. That's what we're trying to build, because we realize that nobody's coming
Right.
to rescue you. The one advice that I
Right.
have for people is, the first thing is identify, what learn. ऐसा नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि oh, maybe I was being too sensitive, because that is what the perpetrator is going to say. You're being too
Right.
sensitive, too emotional.
Hmm.
Baby, मैंने ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं कहा था. That does happen.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
this comes from
absolutely. It
real life
happens in a lot of
experiences.
relationships. Right. Right.
They will abuse you in the night and they would say कि नहीं नहीं बेबी तुमने गलत सुना होगा, and the baby thinks कि हाँ मैंने शायद गलत सुना होगा, but if it goes on for a
Hmm.
very long time, she's now a traumatized person
Right.
over time.
It's a
So
vicious cycle.
yeah, it's a vicious cycle, because you can't get out of this relationship.
Yeah.
And this need for love, this need that this feeling that I will change people, and this idea that ठीक है, it's okay, थप्पड़ तो नहीं मारा ना. You come back to your parents, you say this is being very toxic,
Right.
when they say थप्पड़ तो नहीं मारा ना, तो फिर क्या problem है? Okay, there is
Right.
another movie थप्पड़, they say एक ही थप्पड़ तो
Hmm.
था, right? So
Hmm.
these things are very difficult. One thing that we should do is identify, make notes, try to read the pattern. If there is a
Right.
pattern, you constantly feel bullied and you constantly feel demoralized, dehumanized, there is emotional abuse at play. Read about it,
Right.
talk to somebody, seek help. Talk to, and if
Right.
your parents, if your friends, if your family members, if the society is dismissing it, stop dismissing
Mm.
yourself. Stop minimizing this abuse. You need to build your boundaries around you. That's
Yes.
something very important
Yes.
and very difficult. It's easier to said than done,
Yes.
but it
Yeah.
is something that we all need to learn. We need to, bring this into play.
Right, right. I think you brought out a really important point as to how, as a society, we have a tendency to dismiss, people's emotions over and over again. But like you said, never dismiss yourself. We
Never.
should never forget ourselves and, the kind of inner resilience and strength that we have. I think it's really important to, befriend your own existence before asking for a validation from the other person. So, on that note, I would also like to tell everyone and the viewers, uh, just in case anybody requires any sort of help, please feel free to reach out to Ifra or me, and we can get you connected to a professional. So please take care of yourself and please prioritize your mental well-being in 2023. And once again, thank you so much, Ifra, for talking on such an important topic on emotional abuse and how it really impacts a person's well-being. I think this will be very helpful for everyone who would be listening to this video later on also. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you, Veralika. Happy New
Thanks.
Year,
Thanks
everybody.
everyone for joining. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Okay.